Hi everyone, welcome to this video. Today I want to give you 5 tips on remembering all 15 poems. These tips will apply regardless of which anthology you are studying, and for each tip I will show you examples that relate to both power and conflict and love and relationships. So without further ado, let's get started. My first tip is to give each poem your own title, one that quickly summarises the poem. For instance, if you're studying the Power and Conflict anthology, Ozymandias could be called Crumbling Power Statue. Or if you're studying the Love and Relationships anthology, Porphyria's lover could be called Psycho Killer Husband. Now, this is a strategy I also use with my students to help them remember plays. So if, for example, you're studying a Shakespearean play, you could give each act and each scene its own title. You can do the same with texts like A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, where you can give each stave your own title. If you've got some interesting ideas, share them with us by leaving a comment. Tip number 2 is to draw or find a picture that will help you summarize the poem. We think visually, so this is a really great way of remembering them. For instance, from the Power and Conflict anthology, you might use these zombie hands to represent My Last Duchess, the hands representing both power and the implication that the Duke murdered his last wife. Or for love and relationships, perhaps you could have the holding of hands to represent winter swans, and how we get a sense of reconciliation with the image of the couple holding hands towards the end. Now, this tip is all about remembering quotes. Now, of course, remembering quotes is important, but also really challenging. So a good approach is to start by remembering just one important and versatile quote per poem. So try and think of just one word or phrase from each poem that captures the essence of it. For example, for London by William Blake, Mind-forged manacles is a great quote that connotes feelings of being controlled, and we see that in the word chartered at the beginning of the poem. It also reminds us of suffering, since manacles are shackles. We also think of controlling power with mind forged. Or perhaps for The Farmer's Bride by Charlotte Mew, but more's to do at harvest time than bide and woo would be a good phrase to remember, as it encompasses the farmer's attitude, whereby he doesn't place much priority on building a relationship with his wife. My next tip is about summarizing the key message in the poem with 5 words or less. For example, for an extract from the Prelude by William Wordsworth, you might want to summarize the key message with "Nature is more powerful than man." Or for Walking Away by Cecil Day Lewis, you might summarize the poem with "To love is to let go." And my final tip refers to the assessment objective A03, which requires you to make contextual links. You could try remembering just one contextual fact that can act as a springboard for any other ideas you may wish to write about. So, for example, for checking out my history, you might want to remember how John Aggard was born and raised in Guyana. Now, at the time, it was a British colony, and English was made the official language for government, the legal system, and for education. This easily links to the main themes in the poem, which means that regardless of the essay question, you should be able to use this fact. And you should also be able to expand upon it using the poem to prompt you. For example, we have the line that refers to the Arawaks. Arawaks was their native language and it was pushed out by English. Moving on to one from the Love and Relationships anthology, for Love's Philosophy, you might want to remember how Percy Shelley was a famous atheist. So when he uses divine law as part of his argument to persuade his lover to kiss him, we see how he will try anything to support his argument. So in summary, my 5 tips are: give the poems your own title. Remember that you can do this with any text that you're trying to remember. My second tip is to find or draw a picture that represents each poem. Thirdly, find a quote that's versatile per poem. Number 4 is to summarize the key messages in 5 words or less. And finally, try and remember just one contextual fact that will trigger your memory to discuss other aspects when you're linking the text to the context. I hope you have found these tips useful. Now, I'm always interested in new ideas, so please let me know in the comments if you have any tips you can add. And if you try any of these tips, do let me know how you got on. Thanks for watching and see you next time.